Peace departed after they brought home a statue from a murder house, sculpted from grave soil. The film opens with the game development company dispatching 2 team members to scan an abandoned house notorious for being extremely haunted. This is no ordinary empty building, it is the site of a horrific tragedy where an entire family was found dead, murdered by the wife herself, a renowned sculptor named Mei-Chan. Her name carried weight across Asia due to her artwork, which made the case all the more shocking to the public. Yet, one mystery remains unsolved to this day: the disappearance of Mei-Chan's body following the incident. This is where we meet Ai and his partner, Chang, assigned to scan every inch of the house for their horror game project. As they step inside, a tense and unsettling atmosphere engulfs them immediately. The place is untouched, filthy, cluttered, and crowded with Mei-Chan's sculptures scattered across the rooms. The tension spikes when a family photo frame suddenly falls on its own directly in front of Ai. Even so, Chang tries to soothe him, insisting that fear originates only in the human mind. However, the situation darkens as they descend into the basement. There, Chang discovers a statue that remains intact and distinct from the others, handing it to Ai. On its back, there appears to be some kind of important inscription, but before they can decipher it, a soft whisper hisses in Ai's ear, ordering him to return the statue. Startled, Ai reflexively drops it, snapping the statue's head clean off. Without realizing it, that moment unleashes something far more dangerous, as if the broken statue releases an entity sealed within. In a panic, Ai tries to flee, but his escape is cut short when a large shelf collapses onto him, leaving him sprawled on the ground covered in blood, some of which accidentally drips onto the statue. As Chang rushes to help, he is stunned by something impossible. Ai, severely injured only seconds ago, suddenly stands up in an unnatural posture, like a man no longer himself. Terrified, Chang slowly retreats, attempting to escape, but before he can get away, something from the darkness seizes his leg and drags him into a furnace. The story then pivots to Felix and his wife, Ling, a couple basking in the happiest chapter of their lives. Felix holds a vital role in the horror game project, while Ling spends her days as a housewife who also enjoys wood carving. Their joy feels complete because Ling is pregnant, and they have even settled on the name Vinny for their unborn child. Meanwhile, anxiety simmers at the office as the team awaits Ai, who should have returned with the scanning data. Shortly after, Ai finally appears, carrying the data and the statue from the house. But something about him has drastically shifted. He has grown silent, often appears stricken with terror, and mutters strange warnings, telling people to keep their distance. Unfortunately, his deteriorating condition is dismissed by his superior, who cares only about the data he brought back. The development task is then passed to Felix, who is instructed to complete the early build of the project as quickly as possible. He takes home all the scanning data, including the statue that will unknowingly become the epicenter of disaster. Amid the stressful and hectic work schedule, Felix finds peace whenever he returns home, where Ling greets him warmly. Their domestic life feels whole, serving as Felix's anchor against the harshness of the outside world. During one quiet moment, Felix carves a miniature figure of his family, including a representation of their future child. As days pass, Felix delves deeper into Mei-Chan's background and the history of the house intended as the game's primary setting. From various sources he uncovers, including a recorded video, it is revealed that Mei-Chan employed unusual methods in her sculpting, specifically using soil taken from graves. Gradually, almost imperceptibly, the atmosphere inside Felix's home begins to shift. Strange incidents manifest subtly, starting with Felix experiencing moments where he glimpses more than one version of Ling, as if a second presence is mimicking his wife. Before he can fully process this, Ling wakes one night to the sound of a door creaking open. Still drowsy, she shuffles toward the kitchen for a drink but stops when her gaze lands on the statue Felix brought home from the office. From that moment forward, their house becomes saturated with strange phenomena invisible to the naked eye, some of which are only captured by the home's CCTV cameras. Unaware of the danger, Ling approaches the statue to inspect it more closely. Suddenly, a whisper calls her name, startling her so badly she accidentally cuts her finger, and a single drop of her blood lands on the statue. Without realizing it, that small incident becomes the catalyst for something immense, as the evil presence begins to claim Ling as its new host. The changes in Ling become apparent the very next day. She grows forgetful, engages in bizarre behavior, and even consumes items strictly forbidden during pregnancy. Her emotions turn volatile, causing her to snap at Felix for no discernible reason. Initially, these shifts are attributed solely to her pregnancy. At the same time, the narrative introduces Lu, Mei-Chan's younger sister, who now oversees her late sister's artistic legacy. When Felix meets her to secure permission for using the house in his game, Lu expresses a profound curiosity about the past, unable to believe her sister could commit such a monstrous act against her own family. Meanwhile, the early demo of Felix's game begins to take shape, its realism so intense that even Felix himself is spooked while testing it. Yet, behind the project's progress, conditions at home continue to deteriorate. The terror Ling endures intensifies, signaled by the return of the Whisper, which now seems to demand a greater offering, more blood. At one point, Ling stares at her reflection, but something is wrong. The mirror image does not fully obey her movements, as if possessing a will of its own. Powerless to resist, Ling slowly follows the motion of her reflection, compelled to harm herself until blood drips once more onto the statue. With every drop of blood offered, the entity's influence grows stronger, and the previously broken statue is gradually repaired by Ling's own hands, without her full awareness. More suspiciously, portions of the writing on the statue appear to have been deliberately erased. As Ling's conduct grows increasingly erratic, Felix's suspicions mount. Though he initially tried to rationalize everything as pregnancy-related stress, the chain of events is too unnatural to disregard. Amid this confusion, Felix receives a frantic call from Ai, the first person to bring the statue home. In a panicked state, Ai pleads for help but cannot articulate what is happening. Concerned and curious, Felix decides to visit him in person. But what he discovers is far more horrifying than anticipated. Ai appears in an unnatural condition, paralyzed with fear, as though under the sway of something deeply malevolent. Simultaneously, back at home, Ling, now fully influenced by the evil presence, performs a ritual using a doll as a conduit. Unbeknownst to her, Ling's actions are directly linked to Ai's condition. Every act inflicted upon the doll manifests on Ai's body, until finally his body can endure no more. In his final moments, Ai manages to gasp something about the back of the statue, as if offering a crucial clue. But before he can elaborate, he dies, leaving Felix frozen in horror, having witnessed Ai's death right before his eyes. Armed with Ai's dying clue regarding the back of the statue, Felix begins to suspect something is concealed within it. His hunch drives him to scrutinize the carved writing more meticulously. After research and consultations, he discovers the text is no ordinary carving but an ancient mantra inscribed in Taoist script, a form of writing known for secret techniques and veiled meanings. Unfortunately, the mantra is fragmented, parts of it missing, making full comprehension impossible. Recognizing his limitations, Felix is advised to seek out someone more versed in this domain, a practitioner named Asheng, reputed for his deep knowledge of mantras and rituals. Without delay, Felix meets Asheng and recounts everything that has transpired. After studying the remaining text, Asheng attempts to reconstruct the missing sections by predicting the most logical word sequences. His efforts prove fruitful, and he deduces that the mantra is a binding spell designed to imprison evil spirits, preventing escape. Grasping the gravity of the threat, Felix immediately brings Asheng to his house to evaluate Ling's condition. But upon arrival, the atmosphere turns hostile, as if their presence antagonizes the evil entity already possessing Ling. With no time to spare, Asheng initiates a ritual using salt and paper talismans to immobilize the spirit. He attempts to extract the entity from Ling's body, but its power far exceeds his expectations. During the process, the spirit even tries to transfer itself and attack Asheng, escalating the danger. Although Asheng manages to suppress it temporarily and tries to force it back into the statue, the effort fails as the spirit repeatedly evades capture and re-enters Ling. In the end, Asheng can only contain it briefly by sealing it within Ling while he searches for an alternative solution. With the clock ticking, Asheng asks how long the statue has resided in Felix's house. When Felix replies 6 days, Asheng's expression hardens. He explains that if the evil spirit remains in Ling's body for more than 7 days, it will permanently commandeer her form, and she will be beyond saving. This leaves them only until the next morning to find a remedy. Asheng's confusion deepens, the spirit's strength seems unnatural if fueled solely by human blood. This prompts him to suspect there is a deeper origin tied to the statue itself. To uncover the truth, the only person who can assist is Lu, Mei-Chan's younger sister, who shares a blood connection with her. Without wasting a moment, Felix and Sheng transport the unconscious Ling to Lu's residence. Upon seeing the statue, Lu is appalled and demands to know why Felix kept it from her initially. Realizing how little time remains, Sheng decides to conduct a specialized ritual permitting them to glimpse the past. As the ritual requires a blood relative, Lu is the sole candidate capable of undertaking it. During the ritual, Lu can only observe, unable to interact with the events unfolding. Through the visions, it is revealed that Mei-Chan was pregnant during that period. She is seen excavating soil from a graveyard to use as sculpting material. But tragedy strikes when Mei-Chan suffers a severe hemorrhage, causing her to miscarry her unborn child. The loss shatters her psyche entirely, leaving her unable to accept reality. In this fractured state, Mei-Chan commits an act beyond all reason. Rather than burying the infant, she blends it with graveyard soil and utilizes the mixture as the core material for a statue. The process concludes with firing in a kiln, resulting in a statue that is no mere object but a vessel for an evil spirit. From that moment, the spirit is born, and unrestrained, it eventually overtakes Mei-Chan, compelling her to slaughter her entire family. When she regains awareness, it is far too late, and overwhelming regret consumes her. In a desperate attempt to rectify her deeds, Mei-Chan inscribes a sealing mantra onto the head and back of the statue to imprison the spirit. She then locks herself inside the furnace room with the statue, ending her life in flames as a final act of atonement. From this vision, Felix and Sheng finally ascertain the location of Mei-Chan's remains and the genuine origin of the statue's power. With this new understanding, they formulate a plan to end the nightmare. Sheng will locate Mei-Chan's remains to serve as a new vessel for the evil spirit, while Felix is tasked with finding the broken piece of the statue's head, believed crucial to the sealing process. With only hours left until dawn, Felix, Sheng, and the still unconscious Ling return to Mei-Chan's house to execute their plan. Before separating to tackle their respective assignments, Sheng hands Felix a talisman as a final safeguard should matters go awry. The clock continues to run down as they set the plan in motion. Sheng ventures deeper into the house to physically locate Mei-Chan's body, while Felix employs virtual reality technology to revisit the scan layout of the house. With the entire interior mapped in precise detail, Felix navigates every corner virtually, searching for the missing fragment of the statue's head with speed and efficiency. In the physical world, Sheng contends with disturbances from unseen entities attempting to thwart him. Despite the hardship, he eventually locates Mei-Chan's body concealed inside the furnace. Almost simultaneously, Felix successfully pinpoints the broken piece of the statue's head within the virtual simulation. Yet, the situation takes another dire twist when Ling, previously left in the car, vanishes without a trace. From that moment on, all control unravels into chaos. The terror, once subtle, now manifests in direct attacks. Sheng finds himself trapped inside the furnace room while Felix is forced to confront Ling, who is now completely puppeted by the evil spirit. In a desperate stand, Felix uses the talisman provided by Sheng to parry Ling's assault, which briefly jolts her back to her senses. Felix desperately tries to soothe her, urging her to fight the influence that holds her captive. Meanwhile, Sheng hurriedly reconstructs the mantra based on the recovered fragment of the statue's head and begins transcribing it onto talisman paper to ensnare the spirit. He endeavors to transfer the spirit into Mei-Chan's skull as a new vessel, but the attempt fails once more because the spirit has grown far stronger than anticipated. The crisis deepens when they realize the evil spirit is not merely possessing Ling, but is also beginning to gestate within the baby she carries. Under these dire circumstances, Sheng discloses the sole remaining option, to seal the spirit inside the baby using the mantra. However, this choice would forfeit the baby's life, a price Felix cannot accept. A harrowing dilemma unfolds: save their unborn child or save Ling, whose life force is waning. Felix refuses this path, determined to find another way, unable to bear the thought of losing both. He clings to a belief born from something he glimpsed in Sheng's book: an evil spirit can be transferred into another living host. Without hesitation, Felix volunteers himself as the new vessel, sacrificing his own being to spare Ling and their child. As the spirit begins migrating into his body, Felix battles to retain his fading consciousness, even momentarily losing control and nearly harming Ling. But in his final moment of lucidity, Felix seizes just enough control to stab himself and begs Oshing to seal his body before it is too late. With a heavy heart, Oshing performs the deed, and at last, the evil spirit is imprisoned within Felix, costing him his future for the preservation of his family. Time passes, and Ling safely delivers their child. Life gradually resumes its course, even in Felix's absence. One day, Ling receives a package from Felix's former company containing a virtual reality headset. Upon activating it, she encounters Felix, capable of interacting with her as though he were still alive. Though Ling knows it is merely a virtual construct, it alleviates some of the void his loss has left. However, the story does not conclude there. In the final scenes, the cursed statue that instigated everything somehow surfaces in Lu's possession, despite being last seen abandoned inside Mei-Chan's house. How she obtained it remains unclear, but the expression on her face hints at a hidden agenda. Meanwhile, Felix's fate is far from sealed. After his body becomes the vessel and is entombed, he does not perish but instead exists in some unknown location, seemingly concealed from the outside world. It is never disclosed who brought him there or precisely where that place is, rendering his existence an enduring enigma. For now, Felix's consciousness has not wholly dissipated, leaving one lingering question unanswered: whether whoever took him will help liberate him from the sealed evil within, or whether he will ultimately be consumed by it. And here, the story truly reaches its end.